Success and failure, it is part of life, guys. And I'm here to talk to you today about a whole suite of different EdTech successes and failures that I've had in the classroom as a teacher. Hi, everybody. My name is Tristan Heron. I'm an education, innovation, and growth specialist. And I'm here to help you create future-focused classrooms so that the young people that you're teaching in your classrooms today are prepared for a vastly different world tomorrow or when they finish their particular schooling. And I'm also here to help you recognize that your knowledge and expertise is actually so valuable as well. So in this video today, I want to talk to you about success and failure, right? Success and failure is just part of life. And believe it or not, I'm here sharing my guts out to you. And I'm going to admit, I have had plenty of successes and even more failures in my career as an educator. So I'm currently in my 16th year of teaching. Yes, I can't believe it's been 16 years. And I can tell you that in that time, I have had so many successes when it comes to my role as an educator, but also plenty of failures. And I've also had plenty of successes and failures with educational technology. So let's start off by having a look at why it's really important that you actually embrace these particular successes that you have and don't frown on the failures and let that defeat you and make you go, I'm never going to try that again in my life, because that is a really poor kind of mindset and it's not going to help your kids. So there's been so many times where I have incorporated or begun using a new EdTech tool, and it has been far more successful and engaging than I ever thought it would be. So one example that, actually I've got so many examples, I have to try and remember all these now. One example from one of my very early days of my teaching career, and I cannot see you because I'm walking to the sun, so if my camera just disappears, that is why. One of the biggest successes that I feel like I had in my career was I had a Year 11 advanced English class. And we were reading the Ray Bradbury text, Fahrenheit 451. And I actually got my class, and I thought at the time this was so innovative for me, I actually got the class to collaboratively work on a Google Doc. And we looked at a whole range of different techniques and examples and things that we could use for our assessment or revision or examination, whatever we were doing. I can't quite remember. It was a long time ago. But we created this collaborative document, and do you know what? I still have it today, and I still go back and look at it, and I just go, wow, this is so powerful, so simple, that I've actually, asked my students to be part of this, and they actually did it properly. And that was a huge success, especially very early on in my career when I was still, quite new to, in this particular case, Google Docs. So for me, that was so powerful. Right? Other times that I've actually really found success, just recently in the past few years, I've really engaged and really embraced Google Vids. Right? If you haven't checked out Google Vids, it's part of the Google Workspace universe now, and it's a really simple kind of video creation tool, very similar in structure to Google Slides, and you can create some really simple videos. So it is a tool that I have gone back to time and time again. Another tool where I found success was Pixton. Okay, so Pixton is something that I've talked about many times on my channel. All right, it is a comic creation tool, and I use this with some kind of mid to lower ability kind of disengaged students as a replacement for an assessment task. And I actually got pretty high engagement, which was fantastic. And I was really excited about that. Another time was when I worked with my former teacher librarian, who I absolutely love and miss dearly. And with her, we actually used Animoto to create some book trailers for novels that our students were reading as part of their wide reading program. So there's just 4 ways that I have had successes with EdTech in the classroom, all right? There's so many different other ways, whether I'm using, let's say, Pear Deck, or I've tried Nearpod, okay? Whether I'm using something like, recently I looked at Storyboard That, which is another comic creation tool. Whether you're using Google Classroom, whether you're using Microsoft Teams, there's so many tools that you can use. that you can have a lot of successes with. All right. And when it comes to successes, celebrate the small wins. Don't think that you have to have this giant, big success and something that is just, out of this world in order for a tool to be considered successful and to have successfully used it in your classroom. Now, on the other hand, have I had failures? Yes, I have. I've had plenty of failures. In fact, I recently had a couple of failures in class, in the past week, I think. It might have been last week, actually, where I've talked about this, and I've talked about going into Google Classroom and scheduling your assignments and posts and things so that you're actually able to, be a little bit more organized. So I had this assignment scheduled. It was all great. And it went out. Everything went perfect, except when one of my young people who was using Google Classroom to access the learning material put their hand up and said, "Sir, there's nothing there." So yes, I did everything. I scheduled it. I added all the information, but I forgot to actually attach the Google Docs document that students were going to use. Yeah, I did. Something as simple as that. And did I crumble? No. Did I literally go to my laptop, open it up, and fix it up there and then? Yes, I did. Okay, so tech failures happen all the time. Other examples of failures that I've had is that I was going to use Wakelet, which I've talked about on my channel, and there's definitely videos over on YouTube before. I wanted to use Wakelet to get my kids to create a timeline. We were looking at the director Tim Burton, and I wanted them to create an interactive timeline and embed things like YouTube videos and other media into a timeline. Well, do you know what I didn't do? I didn't make sure that timeline, what am I talking about? I didn't make sure that Wakelet was accessible for students. So they go in to do this particular activity. I've done a fantastic presentation. I've done a modeled example. I've shown them everything, and they've gone in and they've gone, "Yeah, sir, it's blocked." So did I crumble? No, I did not. I just thought about this, took a few moments, and we worked out an alternative for that particular moment. So tech failures happen all the time. Okay, another example is I recently had a pre-service teacher, and she was wonderful. She was so good. She embraced EdTech like no tomorrow. And I think she's going to have a super career simply because she actually went in and listened to my advice and feedback, and she was able to incorporate technology into her classroom. So we were using Wayground, and we were going to create a little kind of activity to sum up and finish a little mini unit that we had been completing, looking at the text mouse. So she had gone in, she had made all of these wonderful questions. She had done so much. It was so amazing. And I actually said to her, I said, "I can guarantee you that somebody is going to come in and they're not going to listen to your instruction, and they're going to log in the wrong way." Because we had it up on our MLD, our main learning display, and on that actually has the web link that students can go to. But we actually wanted students to log in through Google Classroom. So we had actually set this up so that students went to Google Classroom and they logged in that way. But of course, some of our students didn't do that. They saw the web link on the board, they typed that into their Omnibox, and they joined the Wayground activity that way. Now, somehow, we're not quite sure, it created a few problems for us in the back end, and it meant that our information was a little distorted, all right, and it wasn't great. However, on the plus side is, because we had a few of those fumbles and we didn't actually get started straight away, it actually meant that we didn't have time to complete the lesson. So my particular student, she actually went in there, she just duplicated her particular activity and created a new one for the students to complete the next day. Now, I was really sad I couldn't actually be part of that because I had to go for a little bit of an emergency dental visit. So I didn't actually get to see her, but from what she tells me is it worked perfectly and it was really good. So what I want you to recognize is that tech failures happen, okay? Tech successes are amazing, but failures happen in the classroom. Do not crumble, okay? Simply think of a solution. If it means just, stopping, packing up, doing something different, that's okay. But don't think that just because you have had a failure doesn't mean that you can turn this into some kind of success. All right? Success and failure are basically determined on how you'd like to define them. But I have definitely had my fair share of successes in the classroom with EdTech and my fair share of failures. But this is what keeps making my role as a teacher exciting. I don't know what's going to happen, you know, and it's really good to keep learning as well and actually realizing that sometimes things can go to absolute shit, but that's okay because that's just part of what it's like being an adult. Anyway, if you want more tips and tricks and you want to continue your EdTech journeys, don't forget, we'd love it if you head over to our YouTube channel and you subscribed to the Tristan Heron YouTube channel. We'd love to reach 1,000 subscribers, and maybe when I do, I'll do a little bit of a happy dance, and I'll pop that up on a video as well. So head over to our YouTube channel, okay? Make sure you subscribe, share it with all of your colleagues so that you can get that out there, and we can continue to share our love and knowledge of EdTech with you and everybody else. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for another video. Just remember, successes are amazing, failures happen, and we need to embrace and take both as an opportunity to learn and grow and continue to get better. All right, everybody, until next time, I'll catch you again very soon. Bye.